Hey, bub. This is Wolverine. You're watching Pro Teaches Noobs. This is OG Vegeta. Let's get the views to over 9,000! This is Ryuk. Watch, like, and subscribe, or die.
Hey guys, just wanted to show up my new intro.
Yeah, fair enough. I can't argue with the results.
Yep, got Brian Drummond to do 3 of his characters. Took him a couple of takes to do it. I have all the takes in my phone.
Fair.
And but yep, first time I've had in quite a while. Exalted speed. How you doing, man?
I've been doing all right. I've been doing my usual thing. I had to get a new card this weekend. It's been a fun time this weekend for me.
Yes, yes it is, I bet. Well, for me, I just got done with Motor City Comic Con, as I've been telling some people. I mean, that's where I got the audio for that new intro.
That does sound fun.
Yeah,
I haven't been to a convention since March or so, where I saw the Ninja Turtles actors.
I saw all 4 of them here this year, this con.
Awesome.
Yeah, they were just so awesome. And you know who else was here? John Cleese.
Ooh.
And John Rhys Davis and Andy Serkis. So many actors. We get some big names.
Jeez, my mom would probably have killed me if I got like John Cleese's autograph. She loves him.
Yep, I went to the panel and everything because I wanted to ask him one question. That was, what was his involvement with Superman True Brit? He actually admits it was mostly the writer, Kim Howard Johnson, a fellow Monty Python. Even he's like, he's not in the comics at all.
I'm not shocked by that at all. I always thought it was I always for people who don't know what that is, because
if he landed it's an Elseworld, what if he landed in the UK? And it's a farce.
It's a parody comic of the highest order. It has John Byrne art, and if anything, I think it's probably John Byrne's worst Superman contribution.
Well, some would say if you just go by worst moment, it'll be him kissing Lana.
We go by worst moment, yeah.
There's nothing that could top, nothing that has damaged his career more than that.
Oh, there's probably something we could probably think of.
Worse is how he's acted. I'm talking if you want to take it with one artwork drawing.
Probably. That said, it's not a good Elseworlds, in my opinion.
It is not. It's not the worst Elseworld. I'll say there's better, but let's just say the humor is already outdated by the time the classic worst Elseworlds is probably Act of God, and I will say that's probably. And that's mostly because Doug Monkey, once again, with his whole Bat God, everyone must worship at the cult of Batman. If you're not Batman, you need to be brought down to the lowest peg.
It was quite the comic. Also, I guess a bit of Hal Jordan wink because of how he treated Kyle in that one. Oof.
Oh, God, Kyle. Wonder Woman. Oy.
Yeah, but
again, there was a good story. I mean, Absolute Power kind of showed it.
It's not a bad idea for a story. Like that's a classic superhero trope as itself. Oh, what if the superhero lost his powers? What would they do? Yeah, that's a basic cool premise. It's not bad.
But it was everyone became whiners.
It's a comic. I often think that it has grand ambition, but just can't live up.
You need a better creator, better writer.
I definitely think. I think here's the thing. I think Doug Monk is actually apparently how it's pronounced. Yeah,
no, it's Monkey Moic. I've always heard all the difference.
I've heard somebody said it's pronounced Monk, so I'm gonna go with that unless somebody goes.
Here's from the man.
Like it's the best I got right now. So okay,
right.
But he's a solid creator. I like his Moon Knight stuff.
The Vampire Trilogy. Enough said.
The guy's done good work. It's just that particular comic is. Although,
you know, actually, I think it's worse than that.
Oh, sure.
The Claremont one, whom gods destroy.
I'm going to be honest. That one to me is so bad it's good.
What good?
Listen, anytime I describe it to people, they're just like, that can't be real.
I brought on a guy who's a big, huge Super Wonder fan, and it was torture.
I'm sure it was torture for him.
Eddie hates Lois.
Listen, I'm sure it was torture for him. On the other hand, sometimes I'm able to laugh at things that some people can't, and that is one story I will always laugh at.
And one of the weirder ones, Created Equal.
Created Equal is...
First half was good. First half was good. The second half, what the hell?
There's a good premise in there that just...
Why the Last Man was the DC Universe, basically.
Like, it's not a bad idea. Created Equal, though, has one of the best panels of all time, if you know about it.
There's a lot, but which one in particular?
The super sperm. Wonder Woman holding up the super sperm. I consider that.
And that was the one thing that really bothered me. They set up that everyone has his kid, and the only one who gets a unique difference is Power Girls. Everyone else, they're just generic Kryptonians. They don't even focus on whose kid is whose.
I'm going to point this out because of the whole thing. At the time, Power Girl was not Superman's relative, so it's
no. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the fact that her kid was the only one that was a daughter, and that she was the only one that stood out.
That story is not the best in my opinion. Though, admittedly, Kevin McGuire brings it.
Mm-hmm. And whatever else I actually asked Fabian Nicieza, he basically said it was assigned. It was just assigned him, and he just took it to work with Kevin.
In all seriousness, well, honestly, there is a better Fabian Nicieza Kevin McGuire work if people want to know about it.
Which one?
The Adventures of Captain America.
Yep, that was a good one.
That's I would recommend that. I honestly think that's probably one of the most underrated miniseries of the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely one of the most underrated Marvel comics of all time, especially if you're a Captain America fan, you might not dig it too much because this is very much pre-Winter Soldier lore being into it. But it's a fun miniseries. I like its take on Bucky. Good stuff.
Definitely. And speaking of, it was just at the con, I just met so many other creators. Like I met Christopher Priest. Great guy.
Oh, no. Chris Priest is great to talk to. I actually met him at my con last year. He was there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very bitter about DC's been treating him, and rightfully so. It's like he got them 2 Eisner books, and yet they don't give him top-tier talent books. They don't treat it like he's that type of talent. In fact, they didn't even have him go to San Diego to get the award. They took it upon, in his place.
I would actually argue that, like, if somebody's nominated for an award is gonna get an award, the person should be given the option to.
Exactly.
But then again, DC is in such a weird fucking place right now, and I don't know.
And yet, I still say it's still better than Marvel.
That's depending.
No, but I mean, for example, how they handle keeping the editors more on a leash for one, and bring out their better writing, and not just have them have a free for all.
Well, I'll talk about this right now with some of the stuff. Right now, Marvel's most consistent stuff has been the Ultimate line overall, just because of
I see Immortal Thor and Hulk, Philip K. Johnson's Hulk, and even though he's wrapping it up, JMS's Cap.
Yeah. And I imagine things are going more interesting places, but ultimately, I think the most unprofessionalism I've seen is probably Nick Lowe. And
don't get me started. You know what? I have a weirdest feeling that this 7, 8, or 8 Deaths of Spider-Man is his swan song.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's his swan song just yet, but I definitely think it's definitely a filler event.
Oh, it is. And Kelly's not even the one taking over. I doubt it.
No, Kelly was already confirmed that he's just doing this arc of Spider-Man. That's already been a very confirmed thing.
Right.
But I imagine this is basically like, we need something, and I imagine the serious talk right now is, are we actually gonna undo One More Day or address it?
I think, I hope they just address it at least. That's all people have been wanting.
It's one of those things that I imagine will happen probably sooner rather than later. But right now, the big thing is one, they screwed up issue 900 of Amazing Spider-Man was considered like one of the worst issues of that
that's bad when you reach a centennial and it doesn't do well.
And they're closing in on 1,000 real soon. For people who don't know, Amazing Spider-Man basically shipping like 3 weeks a month.
Oh yeah, they're basically chugging along to get to that to catch up to DC because DC beat them years ago.
Well, yeah, DC was going to beat them years ago based on the fact that Action Comics have been published since the 1940s,
and
Marvel hasn't had a consistent comic come out since the 1940s.
And they keep having to combine different runs.
At best, even if you combine, the only way you could maybe do that is with Captain America, but there is like huge gap of we like to call the 1950s.
Right. But other thing very quickly was Nick Lowe, it bit him in the butt when he was mockingly telling people before Ultimate Spider-Man started, oh, you want to marry Peter? Go read that. He was mocking. He was expecting it to not do so well. Maybe not tank, but definitely just be lukewarm.
I think the dude was just trying to have fun about it and stuff like that. Because I imagine, like, on some level, he wants to be the confident editor in those things. And I'm just going to, and believe it or not, I try to be fair to people. I try to be like,
fair enough.
And I imagine a lot of this is, and I imagine it's just like this. Nick, if I have to imagine what Nick's situation is, it's
a little arrogance, if you ask me. A little arrogance and ego.
Arrogance, ego. Probably thinks this is an awesome job to do on some level. Like, let's just be fair. I can understand that.
But the fact is, this has been the one run where it's his book. It's not Zeb's. It's his.
If we want to actually talk on this, I think one of the big problems is that he might be too much of Tom Brevoort's butt boy there.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the big problems is that he's really not making his own views and opinions in making Spider-Man, but is just doing watered-down versions of Tom's views of the character.
Oh. And I think Tom has to be one of the smartest men at Marvel because he's one of the highest editorial positions, but he knows to never, ever go for the EIC role because then the hawks will be on him.
If we want to talk on this,
go ahead.
I think Tom is a very smart creator in a lot of ways. Believe it or not, I'm very critical of him, but at the same time, I'm not going to lie and say he hasn't had some good insight and other things here and there.
Hands down.
I honestly think his views on Spider-Man are some of the worst I've ever seen.
Oh, definitely. That whole
Spider-Man is about youth, not responsibility.
Yep.
It's one of the most insane things to say from like an editorial perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go into it, just the general vibe of Spider-Man, because first, like if you want to break down the whole youth idea here, let me ask this: what's the most common youth story of all time?
What?
Coming of age.
Right.
And what's about company?
Growing up, becoming a man.
And what comes with being a man and growing up? Responsibility.
And so it's all about responsibility.
So even if you want to say Spider-Man's about youth, it ends up leading to that core theme of responsibility.
Right. It's about youth, yet they're keeping him in his middle age. So it's what? Basically about being a man-child? Is that what he's saying?
I would say that his problem is that he sees Spider-Man more as a formula for a character rather than a character or people. Because the thing about soap operas that can make them dynamic is that due to the nature of actors, you actually do have to change out characters and plot lines more than you think. Yep. And I think focusing too much on trying to keep Peter in this space. And also, I ultimately think that, like, one of the biggest problems with One More Day and the Brand New Day era has been the women. On how they've been.
Oh, how many times did they just make it be a girl of the week? And that was one of the big things they were so proud of. And then they gave him Carly.
Well, it's not just that. I think the big problem with how they write women, and this gets into it, is that they want to imagine they're doing better than the old days, but they're writing Peter like James Bond. And one of the big problems is that they're writing Peter Parker more as a sitcom rather than a dramedy or a soap opera.
I mean, I'll put it this way. Most of the other earlier girls, even ones like Deb Whitman and all that, are still remembered. Barely.
Yeah. That said, I've been joking about the new one they introduced, Shay, for the past couple of weeks for that reason. Though. Yeah, Shay,
exactly.
But
it's just and then again, Paul.
Yeah.
Why? That is the biggest case of a spitefulness.
Maybe I should do an entire cast on Paul and talk about him, because I actually do want to do an eventual breakdown of the Amazing Spider-Man Zeb Wells run and talk about it.
Yeah, right.
That's a later thing, though. That's like a
Zeb Wells' penultimate one was one of the worst penultimate runs. It was just a slugfest. Literally a slugfest.
It's I've always said this. Zeb Wells is a great side writer for Spider-Man.
Never should have been the main.
Well, the thing about Zeb is that he's great at writing characters outside of Peter Parker's world. I never thought he was a fantastic Peter Parker writer. He's always been a serviceable Peter Parker writer.
Definitely.
You can get through maybe a story or two with him in the lead. You can ignore some weird character bumps he tries to put in.
Yep.
But his main focus has always been like his side characters, and that's where he shined.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But that's just it. When he was put to main, and then he wanted single Peter Parker, he's never really written good single Peter Parker stories.
Nope, not at all. And again, they don't seem to get what it means to him being single. I think people are flanderized single Peter because it's like he didn't have rotating girls he was trying to date in the early days.
Well, like they've worked with like love triangles, but they would usually try to have like a couple main ones. Though there were some one-offs like some of the Marvel team up girls, as I call them.
Yeah. I remember that.
But that said, let's move on to other talkative points because I got some comics I got to talk about. I have the Marvel DC Omnibus, and I've been reading through it today.
Oh, hold on. Let me grab mine. What? Stupid headphones.
Oh, might as well show mine. Hey, here's my face.
Yep. We both got it. Yep. It is so awesome. I love the features. Remember the way I got this was because there's only one book I was never going to get, and that was the first one.
Oh yeah, that book's going up in prices now.
I actually found one that was for $75, but I didn't have that. Even that.
Yeah, no, I would love to collect that one day, but I'm hoping
the features. I love the features.
That said, I'm hoping Marvel and DC work something out where DC has been reprinting all those old Treasury Edition comics. I'm kind of hoping that like somebody's there at DC bugging Marvel to like, hey, let's print this in this format again, just for funsies.
Oh, and I did get a little bit more detail, a lot of details from Ron Mars. He explained what the issue was about the amalgam omnibus. And boy, Bleeding Cool just blew it out of proportion. It was a gatefold. That was it. A gatefold that was misprinted badly.
Oh, dang.
That's all it was a gatefold that had some of the pages swapped, and that was it.
Okay. Well, that sucks, but what can you do?
And that's still bad, but it's not like the egregious stuff that Bleeding Cool made out to be. And he did tell me, Marvel on DC and him fought to keep the Gerard Jones written books, but have to take his name off, donate the money to charities, the royalties to charity, things like that, because he's a scum of a human being.
Yes, of course.
And but Marvel and Disney put their foot down, saying nope. I mean, obviously, they're not defending it because of the guy. It's more for the completionist's sake.
I feel like it's one of those kids situations of it's one of those things that just like I'm gonna buy it either way just because it's like how else am I gonna get all these stories?
And we're gonna, except for one, we're gonna get most of the alternate endings of the fights.
Yeah, the Captain. You told me about it. Like
except
Captain
Batman
America.
Cap. That's the only one they're missing.
Yeah, so that's going to be cool to see at the very least. So
I want to know how the Storm Wonder Woman one would have gone. That's the one I want to know.
I imagine they're not going to be. Yep. I imagine they're not going to be. The one I'm kind of curious about is wait, no, was Lobo and Wolverine the one
behind the bar?
Yeah, I'm wondering how Lobo's going to look with that one.
Yep, but oh, hey, Bali, by the way, how are you doing?
Nope.
But when I asked, because I was asking him, how was the Storm Wonder Woman fight going to be? Please don't tell me it was going to be she used that sword hammer. And but then he mentioned the omnibus. I'm like, okay, I see where you're going with there.
But, like I said, yeah, no, I'm excited for it. I'll say, like, at the very least, I'm kind of glad these stories are getting out somewhere, and at the very least, it will kind of complete a hole.
Yep.
It'll complete a hole in my collection since I'm one of the few lucky ones who was able to get the absolute version of JLA Avengers. Yep.
Right here. Yep.
Wow, man, I kept mine in better condition than yours.
I know, but
fair, double fair. That's it.
And also with Shooter.
Damn. Okay, fair enough. That said, that completes a giant hole in my collection of Marvel versus DC crossovers.
Yeah, now you just gotta get I've gone just about. Like I said, I have all of them except for the first one. And
admittedly, the funny thing about the collection, and this is something I noticed and I'm now wondering about, the Wildstorm crossovers were not printed in these.
They were. I think that was a completely different thing, and they just want to stick to the traditional Marvel DC.
I know. I just feel bad for the Wildstorm characters because they feel like they often get the shaft.
True, but maybe the Dark Horse crossovers are getting collected.
I'm just saying, like, who doesn't want to read Gen 13 team up with Spider-Man? Admittedly, the funny one is that I kind of want the Backlash Spider-Man one for one reason.
Oh, what's that?
It's one of the only times that they did no bullshit Ben Reilly for a crossover during the 90s.
True. By the way, I haven't gotten them, but look, speaking of which, because this has been Marvel's killing it with their licensed books. They are killing it this year.
Actually,
I haven't gotten them in, but I ordered this bad boy.
Yeah, no, I got to get that myself.
All three of them.
Let's see if I order them on. Let's see. Can I get them on in-stock trades?
Yes, and they have a good discount currently. And I did it, and what I've been doing for the omnibus is I do it to the PayPal. Pay 4 payments.
I might do that just to get all of them.
Yep, it's about. Let me see how much did I do it for? It's in installments of 5182 it's the installments.
Okay, I might do that then at some point.
Yeah, that's for all 3 of them. Yeah, but seriously,
I also got to do that for the Micronauts volumes when I have the chance to.
The 3rd one's not out yet.
I know, but Ron,
you have that one, and you also have the Marvel DC, and you have Godzilla.
Nice.
Yeah, seriously, the Godzilla one, and funny enough, I have the old Marvel not essential, but those Marvel hardcover collections of the end of the Obadiah Stane saga, you know, the Silver Centurion armor for Iron Man.
Yeah.
And the very first trade of it, issue of it, is when Godzilla got transformed into what he is currently. You know they did that, right? So they can keep using the their version without calling him it.
Yeah, no, I remember that whole bit.
It's in that cover, and I'm like, oh, this is where that happened?
Yep. Well, they had to do something.
Since Superman's Mentions the Klan has been brought up recently on Twitter, how do you think about it would fare as part of the DC Finest collection line?
I think it's going to do as well as it's ever done. It's been one of the most reprinted Superman books since it's come out.
Rightfully so. It deserves it.
I don't think it's going to fall off. It's a good book. It's solid art. It's probably one of the best easy to get Superman books.
And I would say this. I think DC's been doing way better than Marvel, coming up with stuff that could be constantly reprinted for forever.
Here's the thing with Marvel. The big problem with them is just their lack of consistency with how they roll out their books. And here's the thing, they don't offer good alternative cheap lines right now. Like, One of the reasons that, like, I often say this, comic reprints should be like DVDs at times, where there's always a cheap $5 option to see a movie.
And that's what DC's doing currently.
And omnibuses, omnibuses are always going to appeal to collectors and stuff like that.
More compendiums.
There's the compendiums. Those are always going to be for higher end people who know more shit. It's that audience will always go, who knows shit, will always go like, oh, I want the nicer stuff. But, I feel like stuff like Chris Claremont's X-Men should be available in like a bunch of cheap collections where it's like,
used to.
Yeah. Listen. We all miss the Essential line. We all miss it.
Oh, the Essential line. Like I said, I just remember when I would always go to Borders or Barnes & Noble and just look through. I mean, that's why I got the Dark Phoenix trade.
That said, I am going to talk about Marvel incompetency here.
Go ahead.
Marvel's is going to try to put out a very similar line soon, which I think they only made because of this.
Yep, line. And I don't think they're going to do as good.
Yeah, no, we already know that for a fact. Because they're putting out the Jonathan Hickman stuff, and they're not putting all of it in. So there's it's apparently going to be edited down in some pages. So it's like, okay, what the fuck is going on here? Yeah, no. It's a very stupid thing, so it makes me wonder, okay, is somebody just sabotaging this line before it comes out?
Probably marketing.
I think it's probably I don't necessarily think it's necessarily marketing. Marketing is like promotional stuff and other things.
Okay, who handles trades?
I think it's honestly like the people who are in the trade thinking, oh, this will undercut us if we put out cheap versions. When I said,
DC's already proving it works.
Well, the thing about it is that supposedly the Epic collections were meant to be like the cheap full color trades, but they run about $50 a piece
because of the coloring.
Well, the coloring, and here's the thing. They used to be about $30, and I think that's actually kind of a good price to put those big fucking books at. But fucking $50 is hard for a new fan.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I often think with comics, you need them places where a kid can see them and their parent doesn't feel bad about getting them.
Again, that's what DC's their line has been.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Like a $10 for a book that'll shut my kid up. Yeah, sure.
I mean, let's just look at DC for a second. Dave's been going good. Let's look at DC for a second. Look, they've had the Earth One books. You have a lot of DC's has been probably one of the best things they could ever come up with. I mean, I did a video recently comparing DC's to Marvel Zombies, and I've realized Marvel Zombies, it's in the title. They just keep bringing that back, shambling, and not even referencing the original. Whereas DC told a story. It had a complete story to tell.
To be fair, with Marvel Zombies, it's one of those things that just like I understand. Like they overplayed it a lot. The first miniseries was pretty good, and I actually like the third series, believe it or not.
Oh, Fred Van Lente's third one, and the fourth one wasn't bad.
Yeah, no, those are fun. But
second one was clearly Kirkman, like, I'm out of here.
Kirkman just giving up on Marvel there.
Yep.
To be fair, yeah, no, that's fair.
And then Returns was trying to Fred Van Lente be like, you need me to wrap it up? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like in my view of Marvel Zombies, like I would say this: I actually am glad seeing them back for one reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's that it showed because for a while apparently Disney made a mandate that's saying you can't show the heroes as zombies.
Oh, believe it or not, I talked to Phil Kane. I heard Phil Kane Johnson talk about this. I don't know if he told it to me or he did it on Word Balloon, but he talked about how on the cover of his Marvel Zombies Resurrection, when you see Deadpool, that was supposed to be Spider-Man, but they were told, nope, Spidey can't be a zombie. But that's one of the most well-known things. Nope, but Spidey can't be a zombie.
Yeah, no, they apparently have let Spider-Man be a zombie again recently.
Oh, yeah, recently. But I'm just saying when he did that, nope. And Dave, I wouldn't say that was bad per se. It was just weak, especially when they had a pretty decent one, regular Marvel Zombies mini.
Yeah, no, the thing about it is with Spider-Man is that the most iconic Marvel zombie is Spider-Man just because of how freaky he looks.
I say Deadpool because of Headpool.
Headpool probably, but like
and probably Wolverine too.
Well, honestly, I also think of Giant Man as one of the more iconic ones too.
But yeah, but Spidey's like, how's your wife and that? Oh God!
Yeah, but that said, yes, we all know it doesn't make sense because Spider-Man was a zombie before.
I know, but again, just remember that his one was a totally new take. It wasn't the original.
Well, it's also this. Disney purchased them, and Disney can be weird about things with them. It's the whole thing. Believe me. Disney has entire eras in history of just when they get weirdly cagey about a subject.
Okay, and don't be Tavia. As I just said, Phil Kane Johnson wanted to make him a zombie, Spidey a zombie. Spidey hadn't been a zombie since Marvel Zombies Returns, but Disney told him, nope, you can't do it. You can't do it. Now remember, his story was a completely different take. It was more trying to be like, do Marvel Zombies, but do it more like Deceased. That was the whole point of that mini.
Mm-hmm.
But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, it's fine. I understand completely.
Yeah, but here's a question for you. But I think we've talked about this once before, but I like to bring it up. And I started saying it earlier, with how Marvel editorial is compared to DC editorial, let's be honest, DC, for all their faults, for all their flaws, they still keep a focus on the character for the most part. They might let something slip through, but for the most part.
I will say right now with DC, one of the big problems with them, and to me at least, is that it's very hard to see who's in charge right now.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's not often good to me, as just from a perspective of I want to know who's making the decisions at the very least.
True.
I listen. DC's just in a very weird place right now. It's very hard to kind of see that. But we'll see. I'm sure it'll coalesce as we get closer to what James Gunn is ultimately going to do. And I know some people are going to be whatever about it. But it is what it is.
Well, the reason why I say that, look at some of the stuff that seems like with some of the writing. And if you also, like I said, you look at how many of the people who have been at Marvel, when they come to DC, they are completely different. They are focusing on the characters. They're actually telling pretty good stories and everything. And again, I'm pretty sure because Marvel and DC puts them on a leash. It's like, yeah.
Well, like I said, I really feel like one of the things with right now I'm very excited about with DC is that they are kind of listening to how people view them and the perspective of them, because otherwise, why bring back the Elseworlds and Vertigo lines?
And doing this.
Yeah, all in and all that, absolute. It's very much clear somebody's listening up there to what people think DC should be.
Exactly. And Again, also as Absolute, or I'd like to say New 52 done right.
Well, I'm going to say Absolute is definitely, so far, we only have one issue.
Okay.
If I'm going to rank them, I'm feeling right now my feel is Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman in that order.
In the release order.
Well, yeah. I liked parts of Jason Aaron's run. I just don't like the focus on Krypton.
No, but I get where he's going with it still. And like I said, what I like about the Absolute line is it's so radically different, much like the Ultimate Marvel line, which, and funny enough, both are universes created by villains.
Well, I honestly think that's I think if I have to actually criticize Absolute on one level, I feel like there really should be a different angle there, but you know what? It's working.
I don't think it was intentionally them aping it. I think, because from what I've heard, this has been in the work for before the Ultimate Marvel line, which, if you didn't know, a lot of that was slapdash together when Kate's fell off.
I understand that's what happened to an extent, but still, it's one of those things of just like, I kind of wish there was a different angle there at the very least.
I get it. Oh, by the way, Mark Waid's comment, I think he got a stern talking to at the very least. He had to go for that.
I'm going to be honest about Mark Waid's comment, if I'm going to be honest. I just took it as like, the dude's, all right, let the dude have his moment. He'll be fine in like an hour or two.
But here's one thing I think. I think he's having burnout, but he didn't want to admit it, so he's actually finding some excuse to put a blame on.
I'm not sure exactly about that, because the thing is, Mark Waid has had moments like these before.
Oh, yeah, but this was pretty bad. This one was pretty bad when he's saying, I'm going to have inferior work. I think that's pretty damning.
I say it's one of those things that just like, I imagine he might have said it in the moment, because I'll just be honest, I've been keeping an eye on Mark Waid myself as just a general comics dude, because you know, and I've been trying to just notice patterns of behavior. Mark Waid is probably just not going, here's the thing. I always say this about Mark Waid, and that the best thing for him is to just stay off social media.
Oh, and he was for the most part, except for Facebook, but then he had Blue Sky, and he just couldn't help himself.
Yeah, no, and I think that, and I stick by that, is that Mark Waid needs to stay off social media for his health, because one, he can't handle it, and that's fine. Like, if you can't handle it, you can't handle it. I have my moments on it, but you know, I try to stay calm. It's what it is.
True.
And well, you know, I besides getting into a fight about the Shin Megami Tensei, that happened this week.
Blue Sky's a Twitter alternative. That's the one where you've been seeing everyone saying they're jumping to. That's the one.
I have a Blue Sky account.
So do I.
Follow me.
Follow me. Like, share, subscribe.
But no, it's right now, the thing with Mark Waid, and I've been trying my best with, is just accepting, listen, until we actually see how the work turns out, don't judge it yet. And two, but I do think he got a stern talking to, though. I do think. I imagine he had to, but that's not something you should put out ever. I understand. No. And also, dude, if I had to be critical of some level, dude, you lived through fucking Reagan and George W. Bush in plenty of others in my lifetime.
Oh, yeah. I've heard people say that.
I gotta say this, listen, just because there are bad moments in politician doesn't mean you give up and do shit. That's the worst thing to think.
Definitely. But I'll say this, though. Do you think, and here's the other big thing, because it feels like DC, I think DC's more and more lately trying to be more apolitical, and I think they've been showing that lately, when you really look at it.
Talk about being apolitical and...
Or more at least center politics.
Yeah, this is hard to talk on for a couple things, and because, one of the big problems I have with the whole political and what's not political argument is that what are you talking is actual politics here, and
how much viewpoints, right?
Yeah, and that can be a very weird minefield to get into because people think of one thing is political, other people don't think. So it comes down to, okay, what do you mean political here?
Okay, then how about this? Hawk Girl, when they had her totally just bash Carter and call him the white guy and all that.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Okay. So let me talk about that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like right now a lot of DC's trying to focus on getting away from that type of style of writing. Because
that's what I meant.
If I'm going to call it anything, that style, I call it the call out Tumblr style.
I've been waiting for Aaron to do that one day. I feel like one of these days he's going to do it.
Yeah, whatever that is.
He's done it because he's done it 3 times.
Yeah, I know. And that kind of style, one of the big problems with it is that I feel like a lot of it just ends up being like petty gripes and they don't feel fun to read about at times.
Well, some of those issues are ones I've seen regularly, like the She-Hulk issue is one thing that's like the most prevalent thing on his TV tropes page for his Avengers run, or even for She-Hulk in general. Everywhere you see about that Aaron issue, and everyone's trashing it because it says he doesn't get the character.
No, that's the thing, because that's kind of like one of the things about like DC Comics going apolitical and stuff. It's one of those things that just like, it's one of the things with it is that a lot of people just kind of want to read like classic superhero stuff right now and back to basics.
Yes.
No bullshit. And
which is what All In is. Which is what All In has been.
And I feel like right now it's like we also need to train up writers better in certain cases because I also kind of noticed that right now Marvel's been downplaying a lot of its Pride books to an extent.
Oh yeah.
God, believe me, which is those Pride books can some of those Pride stories can be good, others can be some of the worst things I ever read in my life. Or the most inexplicable. You want to know what's a Pride book? I don't know why it exists in this way. Why don't we clone the spider who bit Peter and turn it into a vigilante monster who eats people?
What?
Yeah, it's a real story. It's in a Pride book. I don't know why it exists.
What?
Yeah.
But I will say though, like I've said, DC has been better at it. Like if they're going to have someone, for example, someone become queer, they keep it to, the secondary character. Like you're never going to have Diana officially. You can have a creator say it, but never officially are they going to ever declare her bi because that could taint the character, in the grand schemes. Now you can have other versions, but but you have Nubia be the queer Wonder Woman. You could have John be the bisexual Superman.
Well, let me talk on this whole thing. I don't mind the idea of Diana being bi.
Oh no, me neither. I'm just saying DC wouldn't do it because from what I've heard, people who have inside sources, editors made that very clear that any of the Dianas they're marketing, which means mainstream and absolute, never going to be officially bi. Because that could then taint, other releases.
Well, to talk on this, and just to...
Yep.
When anybody talks about maybe a gay or bi Wonder Woman, I ultimately think it's not what they think it should be, because the thing about Wonder Woman is that Wonder Woman's ultimately a character to talk on female issues and the like.
Oh, yeah.
And dealing with the attraction of man and the need for men and everything else is ultimately a context you're going to need her for.
Right.
And if you can't do that context, it's going to be very hard to talk on some relatable female issues. Like,
agreed.
I'm going to say this right now before I get into it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the Tom King run, but there's issues.
It's been hit and miss. It's been hit and miss.
I'm going to talk on this right now.
Don't get too much because I'm trying to get the guy on the show. So.
Okay.
No. You can. I'm kidding. You can give your opinion. I'm not going to grill in.
That said, I'm not going to give my opinion on Tom King Run. I'm going to talk about a concept from it. Right. Diana having a daughter. I don't mind Diana having a daughter.
The Clay origin, I like.
I don't mind the idea of Diana having a daughter, having a man be involved, because ultimately you're going to have to talk about that subject.
Right.
Again, it's a woman's issue of and parents balance, all that. Sometimes those are issues Diana as a character should deal with.
Mm-hmm. And if it has to be, having it be her own daughter made from clay is better than what everyone was theorizing, which was it was going to be the baby of that Amazon at the start.
Yeah. But that said, again, I don't mind the idea of dealing with it, but Wonder Woman as a character should probably deal with these issues as a character herself, and that's one of the reasons I don't think she'll ever be fully gay, or very not viable for her to be fully bi.
That's what I'm saying. That's why they give it to Nubia.
Yeah, and I think because to me, and again, I'm not saying it's a bad idea here.
Oh no.
I ultimately say this is that Wonder Woman as a character is often used by everyone, and I mean everyone, the writers, as commentary on women's issues. And for better or worse, it might be better if you keep her straight on that level just to explore those issues. But again, that's just how I view some of the stuff. I would probably be okay with making Wonder Woman by myself if I could get away with it.
I agree. So would I. I would completely agree with that. But
but that's one of those things, just like marketing and stuff, and beyond that, it's
marketing won't allow it. Marketing won't allow it. That's why they won't allow. Again, that's why they did the stuff with John, and now which I gotta ask you: do you think Tim they are gonna backpedal with him being? At least they're gonna get rid of Bernard. That's for sure. Bernard gone.
What I imagine if they do backpedal with him, it's going to be like this: Tim will always be bi. That will always be a thing brought up about him. But they might show him dating Stephanie again, and maybe not mention Bernard again.
Right. I think between him and John, Tim, they can get away with it. But John, no.
John might be stuck where he's at for a while until
they are teasing Dreamer.
Yeah,
it's weird because she's trans.
But
she's one of the better. I think she's probably been one of the better recent trans characters because they don't dwell on it.
I'll say this about Dreamer, and I'm just going to be honest completely here. I want them to give her a better costume.
Okay, I think the costume's all right, but I'm thinking about the character.
No, the thing about it is her costume is so generic superhero, it just bores me.
True. Okay, that's fair.
I just am like, listen, I don't know who the fuck designed this in the CW costume, but the fact that that's her costume, I'm like,
it's too Huntress-like.
Here's the thing: if you actually took off her mask, you could make her a background character in a government boarding room scene.
True,
I'm just saying.
Okay,
just saying, get her.
That's fair.
Better. Anyway,
that's fair. I'm talking about her character, her writing. She's been one of the better introduced characters recently. And again, I keep forgetting she's trans. That's how little they focus on it.
I think they did a pretty good job with her. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying.
And I think her actress, she and Michael Dorn have been the two surprising new writers who were from Hollywood.
Yeah, no, I gotta check out Paul Dano's Riddler too.
Paul Dano, yeah, those three have been so good with the Riddler Year One, Steelworks, and everything with Dreamer. Now, in the case of her actress, you had Tom Taylor show her the ropes, at least. But in the case of Michael Dorn, he was great out of the box.
Yeah.
That was the biggest surprise still.
In general, they've been doing some pretty good work with them. It's just one of those things where it's like, oh God! Anytime I just see Dreamer on page and stuff, it just makes me.
I get it. I get it about the costume, but like I said, but they aren't hinting at stuff with her and John, which again, it's like, I actually would prefer that coupling. I would much prefer that coupling over Jay.
In all seriousness, it would definitely be better than what's his name?
Jay Nakamura?
God, Jay is such a terrible character.
Okay, here's the big question. Be honest. Who's worse, Jay or Paul? That's a tough one.
Paul is. I'm gonna say Paul's worse
because he helped with genocide.
Paul's definitely worse because he's more inexplicable. Jay's bad. Here's the thing. I'll say this, Jay. Jay, I could see working in a way, but it's gonna be a weird one.
Right, that's true. But I think after everything that happened with Absolute Power, one of the better events DC's done in a while.
My opinion is just make him the Lex Luthor to John at this point. I think that would be the best thing.
Especially after losing his mom.
Yep.
But still, though, I do think this Absolute and All In is probably one of the better things DC has needed. Like, it feels like this, again, is new 52 2.0, but they actually put a lot more thought into it.
It definitely feels like they definitely... it honestly kind of reminds me of DC New 52 by way of Rebirth, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, by the way, when I mentioned earlier, but I like to bring it back up, because I met Christopher Priest. Talk about a guy who deserves so much better at DC.
I recently purchased a Superman Lost book. I'm going to get through that.
Great. That is a great, but very... You got to read through beginning to end. That's when you have to.
Let me put it this way with Christopher Priest. I've read Quantum and Woody. I've read his Black Panther. I've read his Deathstroke.
Oh, his Deathstroke was phenomenal.
That is a man who doesn't care about chronological order. I know what I'm in for.
Oh, yeah.
I was born in it. I was raised in it. I look at his Vampirilla work and I am ready. I know what I'm in for.
The guy's won Eisners, and yet DC treats him like crap. The point where he doesn't even get his own Eisner Awards. DC goes to San Diego and gets on his behalf.
Yep. He's definitely a creator who I always think should get more love.
He deserves a Justice League, a proper Justice League run, not a filler run.
Honestly, even with it being a filler run, I actually do enjoy his Task Force run for what it is.
But he's made clear he ain't going to be at DC for any time soon because, Tavia, he does have an Eisner Award. And he said, if you have an Eisner Award, you should get some top tier books. Instead, he's just giving the scrappings.
I really feel like it's one of those things probably...
No, he said, I'm not saying, like, are you going as racist? I'm not saying you are racist, but you're acting racist.
I was actually going to go on his age.
That too, but I'm saying that's what he has been saying.
I understand, Chris. I ultimately feel really bad because I feel like the dude should get all the talent and stuff. Like, he really should get, like, some of the best stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. DC can be weird and cagey. One of my big problems with like comic companies in general is that they're not very good to keep consistent talent anymore.
No, DC is a bit better. Let's be honest. I mean, look at how they treat their memorials for the passing artists. It took
I'll say that, yeah, but I think it's a combination of newer editors not knowing the people.
Let's be honest. And this is something I actually talked to Kevin Greenbox was also at the con, and he's basically made clear most editorial aren't in it for the comics. Most of them are trying to do it because of the movies. They're trying to get into Hollywood. And I'm like, yeah, and they bring their friends along as writers. You're like, exactly.
Yeah,
like,
that's
DC is more guilty of that. DC is way more guilty of that.
No, that's a
not
whole
DC,
thing.
Marvel is more guilty. But yeah.
I've talked to Christopher Priest, and believe it or not, he's been doing pretty well for the Vampirella stuff he's been doing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, the Vampirella stuff has been so good. And funny enough, it wasn't meant to be that long, but it became such a big hit.
It's weird. It's one of those things. Here's the thing.
Not all editorial, Tavia.
Editorial. Here's the thing. Any editorial, you're always going to get people who are in it and not. And the fact is, you can't always get the same people with the same perspective, and that's a tragedy of life. Some editors, a good example of this. Let me tell you about like one editor back in the day. I'm trying to remember his fucking name right now. So let me look this up.
All right.
Not
Grunwald, is it?
No. This is a bit of a Elric IPC. Yeah, no. Back in the day, well, I'll go into this.
Go ahead.
A Marvel editor was actually trying to promote the Elric books instead of the G.I. Joe books.
Really? Like the Elric?
Yeah, he was working on the Elric books, and he didn't like the G.I. Joe militarism angle, and so decided to downplay them hard. It's one of the reasons why they were under-ordered as they were.
Oh.
Yeah. The book still did incredibly well, so, G.I. Joe's success, but the editor did eventually get fired. I'm just trying to remember his fucking name right now. Maybe not every publisher, but...
Hold on. The Elric, the Dreaming City? Is that what you're talking about?
It was with the company IPC, I believe.
So, hold on.
Pacific Comics. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like this is Elric, the Dreaming City is what the book was.
Yeah.
Hold on. Grand Comic Database, editor. Where's the editor? Mike Friedrich?
I believe it was Mike Friedrich.
Yeah, Mike Friedrich, it says here as the editor.
Yeah, no. So anyway, yeah, I think it was actually Mike Friedrich. Okay. Right. But yeah, no. Anyway, that's kind of what happens sometimes because editors.
Oh yeah, that'll be about right because he was at Marvel until '83. The book came out in '82.
Yeah, so you have to kind of understand. It's also like, here's the thing about editors too that you also need to keep in mind. Many comic creators who are writers and artists often don't want to be editors,
right?
Because they want to actually create the comics themselves.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
it still reminds me whenever I hear about when Shooter came along as EIC. By that point, editors were just so blasé because they were fans. It was like a frat party.
Yeah, no, I'm going to talk about this aspect though. One of the reasons we don't have art editors anymore, and probably one of the reasons why Greg Land gets jobs, is that no artist wants to become an art editor because they want to draw.
Right, but it makes sense.
That makes sense, but we do need art editors. It's just one of those things.
David, there's been a bunch of G.I. Joe Transformers crossovers. There's been a bunch.
Yeah, listen, if Transformers is going to cross over with someone, it's G.I. Joe first.
My favorite still is the Tom Scioli version.
Oh, I love the Tom Scioli version. If I could have like Transformers figures in that style, I would kill for it.
Have you read his GoBots mini?
I own the trade. I made sure to get the trade when I found out that
I got the issues. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have the trade and I had the hardcover collection of the G.I. Joe version.
Oh, I got that, the quintessential edition. Yes.
I had to get that version. But yeah, no. I'm probably like one of the few Transformers and Mecha fans who's like, I totally get what this is going for. Because the reactions to those comics are some of the funniest fucking things.
Oh, yeah. Ever. And have you ever read his American Gods? Not American Gods, American Barbarian.
I have the hardcover with the ribbon.
Yep, same here. So small though.
Yeah, no, I love it. I have his Godland stuff. The only stuff I probably don't have by him is probably his Opus 8 comics.
Oh wait, what about the Stanley Jack Kirby books?
I have those.
I gotta say, he is so biased.
Honestly, the Stan Lee one actually kind of impresses me.
Oh, it impressed me compared to how he wrote Stan in the Jack one. Because we know the one bit that always still grates me. was the whole bit with how it was about Thor. When it's like, I want to kill them all off, but he's one of our top selling artists. Then it cuts to Ross saying, your ideas were too good for them. It's like, okay, why are you doing that like that's a bad thing? Stan had a point.
Let me put it this way. There's a whole aspect about it.
Oh, yeah. I think you and I have been over this many times before.
I'll say this. I actually think his Stan Lee book is better than the Jack Kirby book. Mostly, I actually think it's a better told narrative.
The two are better, but the two are at their best with each other.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is with those books, especially, what impresses me with the Stan Lee book is that he wasn't willing to go full demon with Stan Lee.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Because here's the thing. It's clear that, like, Tom Scioli is a Jack Kirby fanboy.
His art shows it. His art proves it.
Yes. And the Jack Kirby narratives around Stan Lee and everything else can get so effed up to the point of we lose actual real information.
Yep, definitely.
There are some people who are so sided with Kirby that they're creating lies for Kirby sometimes.
Oh, yep. Like that. Yeah. Sometimes they're the ones who keep pushing. Oh, he really created Spider-Man. Not really.
That Spider-Man stuff is one of those more complicated stories.
Oh, no, I know. We've been over it. We've been over the last time you were on. I'm just simply saying, no, the fact they just push it as it is just that black and white.
Yeah, no. So that said, the thing about like Kirby stuff, especially cases like that, I'm glad that Tom Scioli was able to pull back his Kirby fanboyism to deliver a really well-told biography of Stan Lee that isn't just Stan is everything. He really told a great story with it.
And a bit of a tragedy.
It is a tragedy, and that was good work on his part. And
the one downside is the Kirby book, it's all about the art. In the Stanley one, it's all about the words.
That's the funny bit. I honestly think if you read them, you need to read both. What's fun about it is
keep going.
The books have scenes containing elements and have scenes from different perspectives that are the same. Really good stuff. So, there's a lot of good work there. Now all he needs to do is make a Steve Ditko book. But we'll see if he ever does that. Yes, the Transformers 1 movie. I saw it. It's good. I recommend it to everyone.
Well, yeah, I got both of them in hardcover.
Nice. I have them in hardcover too.
Yep. And by the way, here's my Transformers one. Although I did have to print out the missing commentary page for the movie, the movie adaptation.
Yeah.
One of the best ideas.
The movie Transformers 1 really good. I actually bought a copy for myself this month, so I actually saw that with my friends this weekend.
By the way, here's something else, Tom Scully.
Yeah, no, I have all the Godland books too.
And the Celestial editions. Yeah, this is basically Kirby on acid.
Yeah, I love it.
Yep. Speaking of which, not with Scololi, but in general, I think has been one of the most precious superhero-esque comics that I still hope gets more and more stuff done.
Oh, Klaus has been good.
Oh yeah, Morrison, Dan Mora. I mean, it's Dan Mora.
I gotta see what volumes I have just so I make sure I can
look at that.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful books.
Yeah, seriously, but it's one of the most fresh ideas of handling Santa.
Yeah. If it makes you feel better, Tafia, Transformers 1 has been doing real well on DVD and digital at the very least.
It should be able to recoup its loss.
Maybe not its loss, but we'll see. Right now, I would say the biggest problem is Hasbro itself might be having issues.
Yep.
If people don't knowing, I'm not worried about Transformers 1 with Hasbro. I'm worried about Hasbro itself because They recently fired the guy who was going to take over Transformers, the
Who
toy
was
line.
that?
John Warden.
What happened?
He was laid off apparently, which is just weird. It's a whole thing. The guy was working on Power Rangers for a couple years, and he was working on G.I. Joe too, but he was just laid off recently. John Warden took over during the his reign was mostly the Combiner Wars, Titans Return, Power of the Prime stuff.
Oh, that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, those toys were under his supervision. They weren't the best toys ever, I'll say that. I have a lot of problems with how he handled things, especially during Power of the Primes, but he was around till Siege.
Right.
So, and Siege is one of my favorite toy lines. That shit was good.
Right. Here's a quick question, because I just saw it popped up. Have you been following the Ranma reboot?
Have I been following the Ranma reboot?
Yes. Yes, I was going to say that, yes. I gotta say, it's an interesting handling of it.
It's good so far. I'm enjoying the episodes as it comes out.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it's definitely a bit more solid than the I like parts of the Urusei Yatsura reboot, but they kind of turned it into, this is a more of a best of collection than a real straight adaptation. To be fair, I think they only had so many episodes.
Octavia, Ranma 1/2. That's the anime guy gets hit with water, turns into a girl. Hot water turns him back into a boy.
The classic.
Yep, a classic. And although I gotta say, I'm glad at least the adaptation and even the writing itself is playing things straight, being faithful and everything. But seeing some of the YouTube reactors.
I've been avoiding the YouTube reactors on this one.
One guy I follow, because he usually has called out some of the anti-SJW stuff, but seeing him do it, we're saying Ranma 1/2 reboot will make you bi and trans. It's like, you don't get it. You do not get it.
I have often talked about like the Ranma 1/2 reboot, Ranma 1/2 and the LG. My opinion has always been
it's one thing to be that he helped inspire or help got people who are LGBTQ are fans of it. That's fine. It's trying to rework the premise. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, like the thing with Ranma 1/2, especially because it's always been one of those series that has been that people have been drawn to because of the subject matter. If they're feeling LGBT, and I've never had issues with that. I always thought that made sense,
right?
As a whole,
yeah. Again, like I said, it's when people are trying to retroactively rework it, what the series is about. When it's like, he's not trans, he transforms. Okay, technically, I got it. You know what I mean?
If you really want to say, listen, I've seen people make so many different interpretations of it over the years just because of the fandom. Like, believe me, I've been there. I've seen it and everything else. And like I said, like if people want to, Rumiko Takashi herself has always kept it as like, I'm just doing this for fun, man.
Exactly. That was probably one of the downsides for Inuyasha. You went too long with it.
Yeah, but I've always viewed it like this. It's just that if you view it that way and you realize that, my stuff isn't canon technically,
right.
It's fine to me. It's cool. I'm okay with it. Have fun.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you know what? One Western cartoon was influenced by Ranma. You ever heard of Shizao?
Yes. Some people. That's the one that I've always felt has always been one of those. Oh God, the premise is more interesting than the show itself.
Oh yeah, definitely. It needed a different channel or network or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, no. But like I said, it's just one of those things that just like, it's been interesting seeing what's been going on with that. Like I said, I'm enjoying the Ranma 1/2 stuff for what it is. Of course, people will turn it into a cultural war point, but to me, it's like, just enjoy Ranma for what it is.
Exactly.
It's good.
Enjoy it for what it is. It is good. Is it better than the original anime? No.
There are parts I like, because let me put it this way. Let's see how it handles other arcs, because Ranma 1/2, the original anime, there are some peaks and valleys in that shit.
Right. Oh yeah. And I'll be honest, there are some things where I prefer the anime over the manga.
Yeah.
Ukyo being one of the big ones, because boy, did the manga.
Oh, hey, Harry Henry. Good to see you. Always.
Hey. But as I know was the Ukyo, the way the manga just evolved her character. Hey.
Oh boy, the manga. Yeah, no.
Ukyo got the worst of it. She went from being probably one of her more saner fiancés to the psycho fiance, more so than even Shampoo.
Yeah, no. With Ranma 1/2, it's always interesting to see how they handle that stuff, especially with like newer adaptations. But like I said, I'm waiting for it to kind of get past the 30 episode mark, because I kind of want to see how they handle the later arcs, so especially because the first 20 or so episodes of the original Ranma, really high quality stuff.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, somebody was asking, what do I think of Dan to Dan? And
I don't know about that.
It's good. Check it out. Like, I think check out the manga right now. But yeah, no, Dan to Dan's good. That's really all I have to say.
The whole talk about, because I noticed Bob and Bailey had mentioned earlier about, as you had brought up that situation, which anime was it? The Shin Megami Tensei. How it said, like, he even said, it's really exposing the Japan-based crowd on Twitter. Don't actually follow the media.
I'll talk about the whole Shin Megami Tensei thing, because a lot of people, that was a very dumb conversation starter.
Well, what was it? For anyone who doesn't know, like myself.
Okay. So it started out with somebody going, there's this game called Metaphor Metaphor that came out. And the whole thing with it is that they're having a church is bad subplot in a JRPG. Who would have guessed the church is bad in the JRPG? Man, the most shocking. And what I said,
how many JRPGs with that?
And what I said in my Twitter is that you should not really be surprised that Metaphor is doing it, because, for one, it's by Atlas, who did the Shin Megami Tensei series, which often are video games where you kill God.
Yeah.
Or at least you can.
Right.
There's choice aspects in those games, whatever, but you kill God.
Right.
It's a common motif of those games. And a lot of people got really ticked off by, and I don't know exactly what their deal was fully to an extent, but it basically boils down to, it's like, why are you conflating Persona, Shin Megami Tensei, and Metaphor as the same thing, when it's like, yes, I realize that different people worked on them, different teams and other stuff, because the thing about Persona and Shin Megami Tensei is that both Persona kind of started out as like a spin-off of Shin Megami Tensei, making it an easier game for people to get into. That was the idea with Persona.
I see that here, yeah.
And both were eventually formed into two different teams, which is true, but I basically said, but they share a lot of common DNA, because in Persona and in Shin Megami Tensei, you can recruit like powers and demons, essentially, right? And they're the same thing. Like, so in Shin Megami Tensei, you can recruit Jack Frost. In Persona, you can get Jack Frost. They even have similar spells and shit like that.
Okay, but what's the debacle?
Apparently, they're not the same thing. And I was apparently conflating. It's a very weird argument, because the guy kept being like, it's not the same thing. And then it's like, dude, they deal with a lot of different subject matters and similar things. And I'm just saying that. And I also pointed out that many people who worked on each game are the same people. Like, there are bleed over in projects between them because it's a one company hiring different people. Sometimes they work on this, sometimes they work on that.
Mm-hmm. True.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal to me. And oh man, these games iterate on the same themes. Who would have guessed?
Yep, but with what Bailey was saying though, so it indicates the whole Japan base don't know what they're talking about. Would you agree with that, or do you think he's reading too much into it?
I would often say with Japan base, they don't know what they talk about. Sometimes it's like one of those things that okay, maybe they're right a bit, but other than that, it's like there's gray areas they don't really dig into.
Yeah.
There's issues with like stuff they don't realize. They don't even realize like Japan's own political strife sometimes.
Oh nope. Again,
that like it's also like I often view it as a grass is greener situation.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put it this way: manga sells well. The question is, would you want to be a mangaka with that workload?
No. And that's the other thing is, how many of these people who say Japan's base, but they don't seem to care? They care about the reputation of the creator. They just don't care about anything else.
It's one of those things that just like you have to be very careful with that mindset and view of the world. I've always found, of over idealizing a certain place because
then you ignore the problems.
It's very easy to fall into you not realizing the problems they suffer from, or it's or it's like, you know, what are you gonna do? Like,
yeah, I agree. It's that whole, like I said, people just, if nothing else, they also realize if they point at the negative and then hurts their side, their stance, and it's just like, oh, come on, guys, which is it? You can't have it both ways.
Yeah. No, my whole thing has always been like people don't realize that a lot of issues are there. There's always problems, and you got to be very careful with how you view something. Because I definitely know people who, like in my world, I've met people who over idealize stuff. Like it's funny to think on it, but Canada, like some people. And I know, and if you look over what happens in Canada a bit more, well, you can see the strike, you can see the issues, you can see that they try to pump up stuff. Like, everybody has problems, and you've got to be very aware of that.
Exactly.
Me, because
and here's the other thing:
you can't just be like, oh, this works and stuff. Harry Henry's bringing up some good stuff about like, he said before, manga fighting shonen or seinen or whatever, just so funny to me. They have no idea how spoiled they are in terms of choice.
Exactly. Not only that, though, but here's the other big thing. People, especially the manga-based people, forget is, what they're praising is the good stuff. And it's usually the good stuff that took how long before it went mainstream, before they actually recognized it. Have you never seen any of these people, anyone, praising the shows from the start? No.
Like, there's always going to be issues with like how things are handled in adaptations. I'll also say this.
No, I get that, but sorry, no, go ahead.
If you want a funny thing about how manga fans and anime fans tend to handle manga, I've always found funny, is if a manga is good, a lot of people will demand an anime adaptation. And when that anime adaptation happens, and it's bad, it kills all discussion of the manga.
Do you think that's going to happen with Uzumaki?
Not Uzumaki in particular. Some can avoid it just because the mangaka is legendary enough.
A good
example is Berserk. That one's managed to survive it a couple times. If you want to get a good example right now, I think Blue Lock is going to have that happen to it.
Oh, really?
If you actually see the anime, not a lot of movement going on.
But you get my point still is what I'm trying to say is that when you see people, it's like there was that part in the 90s, and that's part of what led to ADV falling apart. They were trying to dub even the weaker stuff that weren't mainstream appeal, and it bit them in the butt.
Yeah, like in general, with like all this stuff, it's depends.
Like you can't translate everything. You cannot translate everything.
Oh, we definitely can't translate everything, though I would love to. I would love to.
And again, ADV tried that, but look what happened.
It's one of those things of like, you have to balance success and like love of it. Because here's the thing, there are cases where a niche thing becomes bigger in another country. That does happen, you know.
Yep. Demon Hunter.
Like a good example is Outlaw Star. That became way huge in America for what it is.
Big O.
Yeah, Big O's a good example of that one.
It got continued in because of Cartoon Network.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and it's like, but you see these people are saying it's base. It's like, you realize how many of these mangas are wrapping up now. What are they going to have next?
Oh yeah, like if I'm gonna say this right now, we've also been having anime creators say that they're right now living in a bubble era, and we're going to see that burst probably just because based on shows.
Oh yeah.
Which, can't wait to see that reaction. So everybody.
Academia's wrapping up. So many of these big mangas that they had been praising up and down have already wrapped up or in the process of wrapping up. And it's like
I am really interested to see a post One Piece Shonen Jump.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say a post One Piece. How are these people going to handle that?
Well, I definitely. Oh God. Okay. I'm going to talk about a controversial subject here.
Hey, that's fine.
I'm not, but okay. And this is something here. So when Dragon Ball and Slam Dunk wrapped up, Shonen Jump was actually on the verge of cancellation just because of numbers going down heavily.
Oh, geez.
Keep in mind, it was. And the book that saved them, and this is where it gets into the controversial part, Rurouni Kenshin was what saved them.
Okay, that's controversial in retrospect. You cannot deny the fact.
Yeah, no, I'm just pointing that out because I'd rather not get into this.
That's the funny thing. Have you noticed that? I don't think what happened to the creator has tainted the show itself.
It's complicated because it's one of those things. It's one of those things of like, I imagine I've talked to a bunch of normal people about it, and they don't know about it. If I bring it up, it's one of those things. It's one of those things of like, I feel like it's more of a Twitter thing, and it should not be a Twitter thing, but it is.
Oh, no, I agree. I agree completely. But you get my point here, though. Talking about with all these people who is like eventually, Octavia, it's because of the creator. That's all. Yeah. That's why it's controversial.
That's all we're gonna say. You can look it up. Look up the creator Rurouni Kenshin, and you can find out what happened with him.
Right, but like I said, just this whole people are trying to use Japan to own things, and it's like, have you been noticing that lately? You have them going to Japan. You've had them praising Chinese propaganda or these backed games, and then saying, "Oh, look how anti-woke it is." It's like, you know what I'm talking about in that one.
Listen, I've talked about this with the whole thing of like, a lot of people will often. I talked about this during the Shin Megami Tensei thing. Are you talking about quality of writing, or are you talking about just having it? Because to me, that's all.
I say quality. Quality is what matters, but it seems like these people ignore quality, or they have this standard of what quality is, and that they ignore.
Well, like me, whenever I look at some subjects like this, it's like, okay, because the whole thing about the Shin Megami Tensei thing was that, and I'll talk about this, was that, okay, I'm not talking about quality. To me, you saying a work having this subject matter doesn't mean it's bad to me. I need to see how it's handled first.
Exactly. And that's why I feel we're getting to this point. We're getting to this point where they just assume.
Yeah, like you telling me that Shin Megami Tensei or a video game by those creators is dealing with church is bad. I'm going to say they've done it before.
Yeah.
What's different this time? Really?
Exactly. What's different? And again, it's how it's presented. Now, and that's what my big issue is. We've gotten to a point where you have people who are jumping at everything just by having a black character in a video game. We've reached that point. It's like, So what? You can't even include them because they have been examples of them being poorly handled? That's not how you do it.
No, in all seriousness, people often jump too far and also don't listen. I like a lot of people sometimes jump way too far, and it's like, guys, always try to not just act like you're on the defensive. It just makes it stresses you out, and it also just causes more problems than it helps.
Exactly. That's why I don't usually care. I mean, the only thing that's ever set me off is when people have gone after games that I've played and liked. Like when they went after Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
It's like, really, you guys never played it then, did you?
Here's the thing. I really feel like one of the problems with a lot of people and a lot of people associate stuff is that in general, like lower quality stuff just often eats away at people sometimes. And and a lot of people want it fixed instantly. And they often focus on the wrong things to get it fixed because, like, let me tell you this. To me, what fixes comics is we get them more places.
Yeah.
And get more money into it. That brings higher quality creators and more competition for those creators.
Exactly.
To get into it.
Exactly.
It's what's gonna because
it's why it bothers me whenever I see people saying, if you were editorial, fire everyone and hire the best. It's like, you're not going to hire anyone. If you do a mass purge just because you don't like them, no one's going to want to work. No one, because you just fire people for the most part, for no good reason. But
like if we're going to talk about,
why do people think that's how it will work? I don't get it. Why do people think that?
Life. Like with a lot of this stuff, you kind of have to take it. But moving on from grifters, because I often feel like this topic gets into like...
Right, you're right.
Hey, it's fine. It's dumb. They're dumb. We're the smartest people. We rule. Joking aside there. Like it is what it is. Let me talk about like some comics that I've been reading through that are kind of interesting.
Well, here's one I've been going through.
Oh, of course. I love the JSA.
I got all 3 omnibuses. I got the Flash omnibuses. And so I got the Hawkman omnibus. Took me a while to find that one.
Well, okay. One I'm going to recommend maybe to people, and I'll put on my cam for a bit here.
Go ahead.
I'm going to recommend Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. This is an interesting horror book I've found. It's about it uses kind of like a classic children's book style.
Oh,
but it's basically about Dexter type murderer here. I would check it out. Like, it's definitely something. Though, admittedly, I did make a comparison with it being kind of like the Unfunnies. It's a better version of the Unfunnies. I would read it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, but why the Unfunnies, dude? Why?
Because I like bringing it up and bringing pain to people. I am that person.
Why? Okay, here's a good question. Which is worse, Unfunnies or Trouble?
Unfunnies is worse. I'm just going to be honest. I say that as a Spider-Man.
But the bad guy gets away with it.
Like, here's the thing. I say that as a Spider-Man fan. A Spider-Man fan.
Because, it's...
Yes, you see my face. Hello. Here's another one I got. Ninja Turtles versus Street Fighter.
I love that.
Oh, fun. It's been a good read so far.
Have you read the Ninja Turtles Stranger Things?
No, I'm going to be honest. Stranger Things is one of those things that I tend to avoid. So
Power Rangers Godzilla.
Thank you for enjoying seeing my face for the first time. I'm going to turn my camera on and off to get books as I go because, no offense, I don't want you guys seeing me like lunge around.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Oh, wait, Last Ronin. What's been your thoughts on Last Ronin?
The Last Ronin, the first book is pretty good, but I'm gonna read once I have all the issues for the sequels, I'm gonna give them a read.
You should at least read the Lost Chapter. That one you can read independently.
The Lost Chapters I'm gonna give a shot to, just because to me it's like, okay, more backstory, whatever.
The special, I read it more for the flash forward setting up the new Turtles.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they handled that.
It's been good, and Casey has been amazing. I adore Casey.
Oh yeah, it's been good stuff.
Yep. Seriously, Last Ronin has been such a big surprise. Okay, Bally's asking, do you think Common America will get an adaptation? Oh, probably. I think out of any crowdfunded book, that one is the closest of possibly getting an adaptation official.
I'm probably going to say yes to that one because weirdly enough, it does actually have a fan base in Japan.
A pretty big one, a pretty sizable one, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of the book. I actually really don't like it, but I don't.
Oh, no, we've been over it.
Yeah, but you know what? Good for them.
Oh, yeah, Harry, I brought that up. I just ordered all 3 of the ROM omnibuses.
Oh, let's see what the...
Seriously. Oh, and have you noticed, with the omnibuses out now, people are more willing to sell the issues.
Yep.
Do I think Marvel and DC will ever do a crossover again? I think that's more likely.
I definitely think that we're probably going to see more of it. Let's see.
I think, now, what crossovers would you want?
Okay.
Did I say, what Marvel DC crossovers would you want?
Okay, let me give, all right. Okay, if I had to say what Marvel DC crossovers, you know what? I would love this to happen, and some people might think this is a controversial pick, but let's do it. Let's do Captain Marvel, Wonder Woman. Let's just do that.
Oh, wait. Which Cap? You mean Carol?
Yeah, let's see that.
I think sure. Oh, and there was. Oh yeah, they hit the Secret Crisis and Doomsday Clock. Yeah, but Jeff's no longer at DC.
Green Lantern, Iron Man would be one I would want.
Hey, yeah, Iron Lantern ones.
Well, yeah, no, I would love imagine a 60s style Hal Jordan, Tony Stark story. That'd be pretty
Batman,
fun.
Black Panther.
This is one I would want just because of how meta it could be. Spider-Man, Teen Titans.
Ooh, that would be a nice one.
You write Spider-Man like how Ditko would write them, and you write the Teen Titans like how Bob Haney would write them.
Oh, those ones. Interesting. That would be an interesting one.
Yep.
Yep. Again, Tavia, there's been plenty of Spidey Batman ones. There's been plenty of those.
There's 2 of them. I don't think we need to see Spidey Batman. That said, here's a couple volumes from my collection right now.
Oh, Spirit, nice.
Yep, I have 3 volumes from DC Archives. I managed to find them at Second and Charles.
Do they own the rights now to Spirit in fully? Or did they licensing it?
No, Spirit is actually owned by Will Eisner's estate.
But they license it.
Yes, they license it to various people, other stuff.
Yeah, but DC seems to be a favorite.
And we were talking about this one.
Yep, the GoBots.
Yep, the GoBots, the weird one.
That was an interesting story.
It's fun. It's basically like what Tom Scioli does is that what the thing about Tom Scioli's Transformers work that you kind of have to get the meta idea of is that he plays it as what if a kid was playing this toys, and so he makes all these connections and stuff. It's what story would a kid do with these toys? And that's fun.
Exactly.
That's the fun of them.
Exactly.
So, he puts in a lot of homages to, toy. I love the bit where they have, Simon Matter for a plot point because I'm like, that's such a kid thing to do.
Or you put Baroness with Cobra Commander when that should not work, and yet because a kid with the toy, they'd be like,
have you heard? Actually, I gotta bring up. Have you heard of Tom Scioli's Godzilla comic?
No, what's that?
Godzilla versus the Great Gatsby.
What? Hold on. I'm looking it up.
You have to look this up. Read the first solicitation and see the first cover. I'm shocked you don't know about it.
I'm a big Godzilla fan. You think I would? Oh, yeah. Monster Piece Theater is why. That's what it is. It's from the Monster Piece Theater.
Yeah, that's what they're calling it, but it's Godzilla.
I gotta look that up.
Here, I probably here Godzilla's Monster Piece Theater.
Yep, I think I found it. Yep, got it. Got the scans.
All right, Godzilla takes on his greatest foe, the Great Gatsby.
Hold on.
The year is 1922. Mysterious man of luxury, Jay Gatsby, continues to throw parties from his Palatial Longstate Island estate, all in the hopes of attracting the attention of his love, Daisy Buchanan. But his affair is interrupted as the party attracts the one thing more dangerous than love, Godzilla.
You know what? You know what this reminds me of? Superman versus War of the Worlds.
I kind of love it.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Oh my god, I have not read the book yet. The pages look amazing. That Thomas Edison page. Oh my god.
Again, I adore Scololi. I adore him.
Oh my god. This might be one of the best Godzilla books ever made.
I got to show this to my friend Ingrid because she and I did a whole Godzilla marathon a while back.
Oh yeah. He also teams up with Sherlock Holmes.
Yep, I see that. And there's more to come.
Oh god, the first cover is it. This comic has already implied that Dracula is going to show up.
Wait, it's a public domain.
Yeah. It's just like, what can you do? This is amazing.
Hold on.
Like I said, I'm shocked you have not heard of this.
I should have.
Because it's a Tom Scioli Godzilla comic.
I know. Something's falling on my radar, dude. Something's falling on my radar.
It happens. I mean, admittedly, it's IDW, so a lot of stuff from IDW recently has fallen on my radar.
Yeah, I mean, I usually keep up to date with that, though. Yeah, I mean, you said Tom Scioli and Godzilla, two of my favorite things.
Yeah, so I would recommend people check that out just if you want like a weird ass Godzilla book.
Yep. Oh, since we mentioned earlier.
Yep. American. I have American.
That is 80s blend, a blend of all 80s.
Yeah, like there's my bookshelf right there. My
my bookshelves are all over.
No, my other books are downstairs. So if I'm going to get them, I'm going to go downstairs. So unfortunately, sorry, people, you can't see my other amazing book collection.
Yep. But I got to say, though, going over Marvel's Godzilla, this is that point right between Showa and Heisei when Toei was one of the few times Toei didn't give a shit.
It's an odd period of time because, listen, they just need the money, man.
I know, but I'm saying no. But nowadays they are so control heavy. But at this point, no. They just said you want it here.
Yeah,
we got Godzilla.
Godzilla is just their biggest IP, and also like there is so much Godzilla stuff we don't get in the United States.
Oh yeah. But hey, I've watched them all, and for me though, Heisei is still always my favorite era, hands down.
Oh no, Heisei's interesting. Like there's a lot of cool stuff in that era.
Miki Sagusa, one of the best few reoccurring human characters.
If you want the best explanation for why they are very control heavy on Godzilla, he's just like their biggest moneymaker. That's really like.
Now, are they a little overboard with it? Yes.
It's one of those things that just like a lot of people also like to license out Godzilla, and you got to be careful with that to an extent.
And about this, that was actually one of the prime. Those rules were one of the prime reasons why I had issue with some of the Millennium movies. When they kill Godzilla, but they have to hit out, he'll be back. It's like,
Just have a continuity again at some point, I guess.
I know, but that bothered me. It's like he blew up. Oh, there's his heart. Or, oh, he's in a black hole. Oh, we hear Godzilla roar. He's back somehow.
Well, the whole thing with that thing is that we're probably going to see, we're probably going to be seeing, like a sequel to Godzilla -1 at some point.
Oh, the director's back already, doing it already.
Yep. So we'll see.
Yep. Okay. Here's a question. What have you been thinking about Heidi? No, it's Heisei. Heisei. Heisei is the era from Return of Godzilla or Godzilla 1985 up to Godzilla the Destroyer. That is pretty much the 90s era of Godzilla.
Oh, you were going to ask me a question. What was it?
Oh yeah. What was it? It was Oh yeah, what's been your thought about the MonsterVerse, and do you think it needs a course correction?
If I'm gonna say with a course correction, I often think with like these interconnected movies is that they need a strong, compelling protagonist of some sort to kind of emerge in them. One of the big problems with a lot of these universes, like attempts at the Darkverse and shit like that. They never were able to find like a good heroic character to follow.
Technically, you got Kong.
Yeah, but also it's like one of the problems is that a lot of they have a very similar problem to the Transformers movies. Oh, okay. I'm going to talk about this for a second.
Go ahead.
I was listening to Aaron Archer talk about. He was reviewing Transformers 1, and he was talking about the problems with the Transformers movies in general.
Mm-hmm.
In the fact that he thought that like one of the big problems is the focus on the humans made it so that the Transformers are always chasing after MacGuffins, and we don't really get to see Optimus Prime lead the stories.
He's not wrong.
No, he isn't. And one of the big problems with these MonsterVerse films, to an extent, is they're
the special effects. Even back when they were guys in suits, you still could not afford to have an entire movie about them all.
Yeah, no. And the fact is, it's very hard to kind of build stories around this sometimes. About like
cartoons is easy.
A good lead to sometimes. And I think one of the big problems is that one aspect is like I wish they kind of had like an Ultraman type character they could use.
Like, I say this. Mickey was probably one of the reasons why. That's why Heisei worked, because you had Mickey there as a continuation.
You know something? I kind of wish they would just bring in the Pacific Rim characters. Like
true, but you get my point though, right? With Mickey was like that through line throughout Heisei, which was even if she wasn't always the main part. In fact, the time she had the main part was Space Godzilla, which was the weakest of the Heisei.
So I will say I did enjoy the Monarch show from what I saw. That was actually pretty good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this. I do actually think the human focused scenes is just if you're going to make a connected universe, you really do need one of the big problems with the MonsterVerse films, in my view, and this is just my view as like trying to connect them. The individual movies can be enjoyable. It's just there's not a good like through line through that for.
They start to build it up and then they drop stuff.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff like that. That's just
that was one thing that bothered me about New Empire is that they built up the twins and everything. The twin scientists and everything. They built all that up. Didn't matter.
Yep, that's it.
Yep, and it just felt like I think because. Did you know that Adam Wingard actually was going to work on a Kong movie back before Peter David did it? Not Peter David.
Oh, really?
Peter Jackson did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was originally going to do that, fell through, and then he finally got to do it. I think that explains why he's so Kong happy. He's always been a Kong fan.
That's fair.
For understand, he's actually made clear he's not, like, he thought, oh yeah, I can handle Godzilla. Then later said, how do you handle Godzilla?
That said, since you're bringing this up, I actually do think honestly, I think the better thing for the MonsterVerse movie is now that you think about it, because I actually think there's one point we haven't thought about. Maybe they need to make a movie that isn't about Godzilla and Kong.
That's true. Mothra.
Yeah, maybe they need to make a Mothra movie.
Oh, geez. Funny you say that. There was going to be a Batman 66 Godzilla movie once.
Well, yes, there was that was at least a talk.
And a script. 2 scripts written.
Yeah. I'll say this, like, maybe that's one of the big things is that maybe we need, like, some of the other monsters to get their own movie. Maybe Rodan needs his turn in the sunlight.
Agreed.
I think Rodan needs more movies. Where's Rodan's here?
Or Jet Jaguar.
I think Toho's afraid of using Jet Jaguar.
Because it was a contest winning.
Contest winning. I also think he's too similar to Ultraman.
True.
That they don't
That's
want
why
to
they had to radically change it for that anime.
Yeah. Godzilla radically changes. I don't think I necessarily had to do it, but still.
Or focus on Mechagodzilla. Proper heroically Mechagodzilla.
Honestly, you could bring in. This is a weird suggestion. Maybe you could bring in some of the more obscure Tokusatsu characters because there is an act. Toho has done Tokusatsu TV shows. One I would recommend is called Grand Caesar and the Caesar trilogy.
Wait, here's one. Focus on bringing Junior.
Yeah,
focus on Junior.
Maybe we could bring back the Cyber Cops.
Oh, but I still wanted one day have him have a crossover with Gamera. Gamera would be perfect. Gamera would be perfect as a protagonist.
I think everyone wants Godzilla, Gamera, Ultraman in something eventually. And
at the very least, Godzilla and Gamera.
I personally think the big one would be Godzilla, Ultraman, but that's just me.
But for me, it's Godzilla, Gamera.
I know, but we really but
Tavia, we're talking about. Okay, first of all, Tavia, one. There have been two heroic Mechagodzillas, the Heisei and the Millennium one, to a point. And Gamera, we're talking about Godzilla versus Gamera.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, in the Heisei era, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, still one of the most confusing names. He was controlled by the G-Force. That's the Anti-Godzilla Task Force. So he was a heroic Mechagodzilla. Still lost, but nearly won. That's still my favorite Mechagodzilla, by the way. Which is yours?
I'm a Kiryu fan, sadly.
Kiryu. Tavia, look up the Heisei Godzilla. There's more Godzilla movies than you think out there. By the way, last thing. The guy who worked, the guy who worked on the Godzilla anime. He's the same guy who's worked on Madoka Magica, but he then worked on Gamera. Did you know he actually revealed how bad it was working on the Godzilla one?
Oh, the Godzilla one, That's one
of the worst. That's one of the worst.
No, the Godzilla anime was a shit show of how did it end up like this? Because there's a lot of bad decisions.
The first movie was fine. First movie felt like a womp womp in a good way.
Apparently, Toho demanded no monster versus monster fight, which.
And they also demanded Godzilla be the biggest he's ever been, so they can finally put a squash to the competition with America. But then they made him too big. You make him that big, what can you do with him?
Well, the big problem is with the whole thing they did with that one was that they kind of for one thing, they had very interesting ideas for what the monsters could be. But the fact that we don't see them and they're not utilized well, and here's the thing, the backstory is so much more interesting than those fucking movies.
And then they end with all of humanity dead, and anyone that's left are going to mate with the bug people.
It's a whole thing. Either way.
He redeemed himself with the Gamera anime. That was great.
Well, yeah, no. I think with the Godzilla one, they got the worst type of instructions they could have gotten. Especially because, I don't know, sometimes Toho can be very weird, and that's just one time where I felt like they shot themselves in the foot.
But the Gamera one was amazing.
The Gamera one I still need to check out myself, but I've been recommending it.
It is so good. It is. Yep. Okay.
Now, Gamera's Heisei trilogy and everything else, and Gamera the Brave are really good films. So
Gamera. Oh, now, okay. I gotta be honest about one thing when it comes to the Gamera Heisei. Ingrid and I, my friend Ingrid and I, we don't get the hype for the third movie. Everyone says one of the greatest kaiju movies. We don't see it.
It's an interesting film.
Why do people hype it up that much?
A lot of it because of its tone, the fact that it ends the story in a way.
That's true, but here's the problem. One, they say, oh, it's about insanity, the girl going insane. She doesn't go insane at all. Unless you mean being emotionless is insanity.
I never heard that one.
Oh, the director said that. The girl was going insane. She never went insane. We don't get the... And that Legion, Iris, no, which is it? Iris and
Iris.
Iris. What is Iris's origin? Are they maliciously evil? Were they corrupted by her?
Mm-hmm. No, it's an interesting. I'll say this: it's an interesting film, but I can understand like being underwhelmed by it a bit. I'll say that.
I gotta be honest. I prefer Legion.
Yeah, no, Legion's good.
Legion was definitely, when Ingrid and I ranked them, we put Legion at number 1. It felt like it was so much better, so much stronger, a better villain, a great climax and everything. And it just, again, we feel like the third movie is so overhyped.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Gamera the Brave, that was a perfect blend.
Fair enough. Either way.
Yep. Oh, how do I feel about King Ghidorah? He's his best one.
Yeah.
By the way, Ingrid and I also went over the Rebirth of Monster trilogy, and we got to say, Rebirth of Monster 3 was one of the best kaiju movies we've ever seen. The third one of it. That was one of the best, and had one of the best Ghidorahs.
I'll say, like, it's kind of funny because I know, like, some people, like, some Godzilla fans really don't like Rebirth of Mothra.
Oh, the second one was one of the worst movies. It's one of the few high-side movies we put near the bottom with Godzilla and Gamera Super Monster. That's how bad it is. But the third one, for one, you've realized something. Ghidorah's rarely been his own monster.
No, it would be interesting to see Ghidorah get... Ghidorah's solo movie would actually be kind of cool for once. I'll say that.
Yeah, but would you agree, though? If you know that, when you look at the Showa, he's only been his own monster once.
Yeah.
Every other time he was under mind control.
He's always been like one of those characters who's been like used in so many other
That's why Rebirth 3 is so good, because he's pure evil. But yeah, I gotta start wrapping up.
Yeah, no, we've been doing this a long time. Yep.
But again, thank you so much for coming on, man. Thank you for showing me that Godzilla comic, by the way. I'm
always happy. I'm always happy to inform people about comics that are basically, what if Godzilla fought the Great Gatsby?
Yep. Have you read any of the Godzilla Power Rangers?
Not yet. I'm definitely interested in seeing that.
Second one really goes. It does for that crossover what Power Rangers Ninja Turtles did, where it goes further.
I'll definitely check that one out. Hopefully.
Have you read Power Rangers Ninja Turtles, the second one?
Yes. Yes, I did. Oh, yes, I did.
One of the best Ritas. Dan Moore's redesign for Rita. Oh really boy, I never thought you could actually look hot.
Fair enough.
It's Dan Mora. It's Dan Mora.
Yeah, Dan Mora is good. Like, listen, he's probably the most overhyped artist right now, but he's good.
I want to say this. He has the speed that Mark Bagley used to have.
Oh, yeah, no. Like
without losing quality.
I'll say this. Like, it's one of those things that, like, I really don't blame Mark Badgley for slowing down because age really does catch up to you.
Well, I caught up to him by the time he was at DC, where he even said, I'm not at my prime anymore.
Yeah, and that happens. Sadly.
Look at what they had to do when they did Trinity. They had to only give him a couple pages each issue.
Yep. But either way.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for coming on, man. Thanks everyone else. We'll see you guys all in the next one.
See ya.
Take care.
Bye.